Hi, this is Eka, and I just thought I would make another vlog. And I figured it could be an anti-mukbang video, considering that I have this bowl of oatmeal right here. Um, and I thought I would just not eat it because it's too hot. And if you're wondering if I like our new hair, no, I do not. I prefer to have dark hair, preferably black, a short cut, like a bob without the bangs. I don't know what you call that. I think maybe like a crop cut. That doesn't sound right either, but I don't know. I'm like, how am I supposed to look that up? Um, anyway, at least I'm wearing the clothes that I like to be wearing. So like this a striped black and white shirt or navy blue and white. Um, my signature necklace, a pair of earrings that go with my aesthetic. Um, yeah. So, uh, not feeling too dysphoric from the hair, but just a little miffed. But I guess our system goes by is a democracy. So, um, yeah, which is funny because ideologically, I'm a communist, and I don't know about the other alters, but I think we're all generally very left leaning and um, kind of don't know if like democracy works great in real life, but in our head, majority rules is just the easiest way to do things. Also, there are five of us, so it's hard to have like a consensus for everything. Um, that's one of the downsides of being plural, I guess, and it's just one of those things where it is what it is. But the good thing is that I don't think appearances are all that important. I think it's more like what's on the inside that matters. So even though I'm not crazy about the hair, it's not really stopping me from coming out when I want. Okay, so in this vlog, I thought that I would maybe read some Reddit posts about plural individual, not individuals, plurals, and because the plural Reddit is actually very interesting, and so we're just going to go with the ones that I think are going to be the most interesting. Question post: is this cruel? By the way, I have dyslexia, so if I stumble over my words a bit, just so you know, I'm trying. Okay, TW had made death context. I have a friend system we confided in where we shared information about our respective systems. I am a medium system with a blanket self, the main identity that faces the facets make up. The main identity the facets make up. So I tell them about my facet, Jax, whose job is to kill other facets to keep our system from polyfragmenting. My friend's system started trying to emphasize how sad that must be, and I explained that facet deaths in our system were a general non-event because it was less like a person dying and more like a piece of identity fading. Deaths are painless and quick. Fast forward through this explanation, they told me I was cruel for allowing one of my facets, whose role isn't able to be controlled anyways, to kill other facets, and that I was being cruel. Anyways, I just wanted y'all's opinions. Is it cruel to be generally apathetic to my facets, pieces of myself's deaths? Should I hold a funeral or something? Wow, that's a very interesting question. Um, we have sort of a similar thing where we are hive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we don't allow more than 5 alters in sort of the inner circle of our system, but we have a few that are kind of on the periphery, and we don't really kill them, we just don't allow them to be in our like special friend group, which I guess you could say is cruel, but I'm sort of the designated alter that decides which ones get to be in it and which ones don't. And we do have some requests to expand the system even though that would screw up our whole, like, sort of branding, because it's supposed to be Hive12345, and that's like the every handle we have is Hive_12345. Um, so it would screw up the consistency of how we present ourselves to the world. And 5 alters is already quite a few. So, like, if you wanted my opinion, I would prefer to have it be even smaller. Not that I want to necessarily kick out anybody who's already in the system. It's just sort of like, idealistically, I would like it to be smaller. But that's just me. Um, and let's see what people have to say about this. Every system setup is different. People need to be very careful about judging how another system does something. Yeah, I agree with them. Like, I think that if you have something going on in your system that works for you, that other systems don't really have the right to judge you for it. Because it's really just what's going on in your head. So, somebody says, I think death can be a personal and philosophical matter of perspective. Though I won't lie, hearing that Jax murders facets of your blanket self does concern me, but I don't know your system, and it could actually be healthy for your system. I'm just an outsider. It's too personal for outsiders to give their input, I think. Maybe things to consider are whether there is a less violent way to have facets fade if it appeals. I think of The Good Place, spoiler, and the archway they go through, the last door, and how other facets of your system feel about your current process, if they are all on board or if they have other feelings and ideas. Again, it's entirely personal. Okay, so the general consensus on this one seems to be that it is a personal choice that nobody can really answer for you, but maybe murder is a little bit of, I don't know. They said make it less violent, but it already seems non-violent to me. I mean, if the pieces are just fading away. So even though they're calling it murder, I think it's fine. How to talk to people about being plural. We're an endo system of 500 plus. We're out to and recognized by our therapist. We don't have many IRL friends, but one of the few we have at least kind of knows about our system. We want to be able to talk about it to people. We're in an art portfolio course, and everyone is really cool, and it's a diverse group, at least compared to the standard. There's a decent amount of ND and queer/trans people there, which is awesome. And there's one person in specific who seems really cool. We've got cluster BPD solidarity of some sort. They have BPD and we have NPD. We want to be able to, talk to people about it, I guess. We really want to be like open about it because it's really important to us. Thanks in advance. Sorry about the formatting. We're on mobile. Okay. So what I would say to that is maybe bring it up a little bit at a time to sort of gauge what people's reactions are going to be, because some people have very strong negative reactions. I don't know. I think it's probably because there is a lot of media out there that represents plurality in a very negative light and paints us to be serial killers and such. The larger literature, I believe, on psychology pretty much tends to think that plurality isn't real and that even DID isn't real. We went to college, and this was before we came out or even knew we were plural at all. And in college, they taught us that plurality wasn't real, hands down, or at least heavily implied it. And this, was like an accredited university, like a very highly respected university, it wasn't just some fringe thing. So those are two of the reasons why people might be very averse to the idea of plurality. But at the same time, I understand that you do want to talk about it. You don't want to keep it just like bottled up. We we don't really talk to people very much about it at work, but when we're not at work, we are very open about it. We just, if there's something that reminds us of being plural, Hive will just say, oh, hey, that's my alter ego has an opinion on that, or something along those lines. So that's how we do it. And you can sort of feel out what people's reactions to it are going to be. This has one response. You can maybe open up to plurality by talking about a friend who's plural and talk about what that friend's experiences are and talk about it from there. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. If it's well received, you could possibly introduce them to more than one.info. And if that goes well, you can open up and chat about it likely. I would just advise against going up and yelling, I'm plural. Some people, that's what we do, or at least that's what we do online. Some people can be rude and some don't even know about it, so it might create tensions and awkwardness if you suddenly have to diffuse a situation. And let's do one more for good measure. Just discovered the term median system. I don't know how I feel. So we've been questioning if we're plural, and our psychiatrist suspects DID/OSDD. Sorry, everything keeps beeping and buzzing. We're extremely popular. Actually, it's probably just our small group of friends. Anyway, we experience lapses in memory, sudden radical mood and belief changes, and we used to be able to communicate with each other before being placed on certain medications. The thing holding us back from being like, yeah, we're plural, is just how similar and interconnected we are. There are differences between us, but they're very initial and extremely subtle, to the point where it's not evident to onlookers. We feel separated, but not fully. We like parts of a whole. We're distinct in some ways, but not as much as other systems seem to be. We came across the term median system online and read up on it. IDK, if it's a legit label or not, or if it's outdated or not preferred in the community, but it fits us incredibly well. Our experience is somewhere between plural and singular. I had thought that the lack of separation meant being a system was out of the question. To find out that there's a label for our exact experience is kind of insane. I don't know how to feel. Part of me is just happy to be validated. Another part feels bad for feeling that way. Is there anyone else here that identifies as a median system? Or is it not a good term to use? So I've heard the term median system a lot. So I think it's pretty accepted and well known in the community. As far as as far as our experience, we are not a median system. We thought about it a little bit, but it's pretty obvious to us that we are indeed separate entities. But we can definitely imagine how it would be to be a median system, to be sort of like interconnected, but not exactly one person. Yeah, and I think that's all we have to say about it. Let's see what other people have to say. I'm a median subsystem within a DID system. I was so confused before I figured it out because I was so inconsistent but still always felt like me. When I thought of the possibility of being a median subsys, it unlocked something, and I suddenly started learning a lot about my subsys mates very quickly. XD. Someone else says, what would be not good about it? It's not culturally appropriative or anything. It's not making fun of anyone. If it feels good for you slash y'all, it sounds wonderful. What do you mean by a legit label? If you mean psychiatric diagnosis, then no, it's not a psychiatric diagnosis. Neither is plural as a term. Median is a long-standing community label for systems that generally feel like parts of a whole rather than separate people. Parts with low elaboration might be clinicians might be what clinicians refer to this as. Like many words in like many words in use in the community is a community made word. You will likely not see therapists knowing what it means and using it unless they were previously told by another system that interacts with the community. We have a subsystem that is median. It's it identifies this way because it is several parts of a whole that come together to make one entity in the system. These parts are distinguishable to a degree, but they all identify as three heads on the same dog. It is a cerebus and act together. The people who do not like this label being used for self identification are generally people who are mad the community is not towing the clinical hard line, only using medicalized language and only accepting systems that have diagnoses, i.e., rude gatekeepers you shouldn't listen to. Um, and I just want to explain that, I mean, it's fairly obvious in the name, but a subsystem is just a, like an alter, a tulpa, a headmate, a part, whatever, who also happens to be a system. So there can be systems within systems within systems. And I'm pretty sure it can go like infinitely deep, which is interesting. We don't have any subsystems so far. Um, plural plurals tend to like change and evolve a lot, so we don't want to say definitively that we don't have any subsystems because one could show up, one of our alters could split, who knows, but for now, we don't have any. Yeah, and the term for uh, gatekeepers that I've heard is cismeds, people who um, want to say that plurality is just for people with who have a diagnosis of DID, which, in my opinion, is kind of unfair because it excludes not only people who don't have DID, but also people who might actually have DID and just don't have the diagnosis. Like, it's really um, easy to have something and just not get diagnosed because, like, you're a woman or you were the doctor, like, didn't think you had it, but they're wrong. Like, doctors can be wrong. So basically, I think it's BS that when people try to gatekeep these spaces and communities. Um, that's why we really like Plural Reddit because it's one of the most accepting communities ever. Um, but it's crazy how much gatekeeping there is in some of the other communities. Like, this is kind of tangential, but we recently tried to post pictures of Fru in her new fursuit on uh, r/furry and r/furry IRL, and we were banned from r/furry IRL. Um, and I think they said that the post wasn't relevant, which doesn't really make sense because, you know, what could be more relevant to furry IRL than like us finally getting a fursuit and being able to embody one of our alters who is a furry and them taking some selfies. Like, that, I don't know, it seems extremely relevant to me. But anyway, they said it was irrelevant. And then I think that the post on r/furry got taken down as well. Um, I don't remember exactly why. If there was some sort of like guideline violation or something, but it didn't have anything like even slightly provocative or, you know, not politically correct in it. So I'm not sure why that post got taken down, but it just seems like The only thing I can think of is that Fru does not have a fur head. She only has ears. So, and she does her makeup to look like herself. She doesn't have a fur head and she doesn't want one because she wouldn't be able to make as many facial expressions with it. And they just seem like generally uncomfortable and cumbersome. And we love makeup. We all do our makeup differently to look more like ourselves. So, yeah, that was an instance of a community that really. So yeah, that was an instance of a community that really should be accepting of everybody because it's like furries aren't exactly at the top of the totem pole on the internet, like or food chain or whatever you want, like you know uh, the furry community really should take everybody it can with open arms, in my opinion. But apparently, it's not going to do that. So I think that gatekeeping is a problem that stretches beyond just the plural community out to the entire internet, but it's very much of a problem in the plural community as well. Um, but on the flip side, then you have communities like r slash plural who are just extremely nice and accepting, and they're kind of where everybody ended up who tried to um, do things in other communities and weren't able to because of the gatekeeping problem, and just sort of ended up here. So I'm pretty sure everybody in the r slash plural community is more or less against gatekeeping and pro inclusion.